If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. I will be pausing, numerous times to check in and see if there are any questions, but if something pops up right away, definitely feel free to ask. We want to make sure that you guys get the best understanding out of this. We're not taking a super deep dive into it. The main thing is, understanding where to go in the program to find the information that you need. So right out of the gate, and this is going to be the same for both programs, you'll notice right away, we have a few different methods of vehicle selection. Vehicle history is going to save your last 50 lookups. So you can see that there's actually two different line items here for the same vehicle. Not only does it save the vehicle that you looked up, but the specific information that you're looking at as well. So if a couple days later you need to go back and look at something, you'll have a nice little trail here so you can pop back in. VIN plate decode, great feature. If you guys already have a VIN number pulled up in your management system or whatever you're using to manage the customer's details, you're able to pop that VIN number right into the VIN box here and hit look up, and you'll see across the top in blue that it tells us that VIN belongs to a 2009 Freightliner CL120 with a Detroit diesel motor. Probably the most common selection tool is going to be your year, make, model tool. You're able to select the vehicle year, the vehicle make and model, and then it'll ask you for the engine. As soon as you put the engine in, you can see that in the lower right-hand corner, the blue Use This Vehicle button is now illuminated. So at this point, you're able to click Use This Vehicle and go right into the program. If you wanted to give further clarification based on the ABS system or the transmission on the vehicle, you can do that as well, and you'll see how that comes into play a little bit later on down the road when we're looking at trouble codes. But for the sake of the example, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Use This Vehicle. This is going to be your landing page for the truck product. You'll see in the passenger vehicle information, the landing page is a little bit different. On the left-hand side, we've got our module selection drop-down, which allows you to utilize the various parts of the truck program. So we're going to start off by clicking on the repair module. This brings us to a table of contents, which is going to give you all the different categories, headings, topics, and subtopics that you could be looking at. One of the things I want to make sure I show you right out of the gate, and this is a unique feature, this is going to be the same no matter what vehicle you've selected, whether you use your vehicle history, whether you use the VIN decode or plate decode, or whether you use year, make, model. In the table of contents, you can go into quick lookups, expand the DTC index, and go into engine service and fault code index. And this is going to give you a comprehensive listing of all engines. So this will come in handy when you have a situation maybe where you have a truck in front of you and you're not sure what it is, but you can pop the hood and see what the engine looks like. You can select the engine manufacturer, and then you'll see that it gives a comprehensive chart of the various engines, the start and end year for that engine model, and then you can go into fault codes, mechanical, fuel, etc. For each one of those engines. So again, if you're not sure, what the entire truck makeup is, because it's been pieced together or modified, you can start with the engine, and this is a great place to start. You'll notice that when we clicked on that, our table of contents disappeared. It didn't go anywhere. It's just over here on the side. There's this little gray bar that's essentially like a drawer that slides in and slides out. So anytime it goes away, you're able to click on this gray bar and bring it right back out to take you where you were before. Below the DTC index is going to be your wiring diagrams. So this is going to be a comprehensive list of all the wiring diagrams for the vehicle that you're looking at. As you go through and you're looking at repair information and repair articles, you are going to also see the diagrams that are relevant to whatever it is that you're looking at. But again, this is a complete list of diagrams. So you'll see when we click in, you have the ability to select whatever, system or component within the truck we want to see a diagram for. I'm going to go ahead and click on Engine Performance. You scroll down a little bit. At the bottom of each diagram, there's going to be a button that says, or a link that says, View Full Screen. If we click on that, it's going to pop up another window, And this gives us the ability to interact with our wiring diagram. One of the greatest features of Mitchell1's diagrams is the interactivity. So on the left-hand side, you see there's a plus and minus symbol. You can use that to zoom in or zoom out on the diagram. If you click the little hand right here, you can then click and drag the diagram on this side to position it where you want it to be. One of the best features of this is the wire and circuit select. You notice as I'm moving my mouse over these wires, it'll highlight them in blue. And if when it does that, I click on them, it will actually highlight them in yellow. This engine performance circuit's pretty simple. There's not a ton of wires. Obviously, it's not as complex as some of the diagrams you're looking at. But you can see we've highlighted these in yellow. Now I'm going to go over to the left-hand side and click on this little eyeball icon, which is the Hide Show Wires icon. When I do that, it's going to remove all the wires that I haven't selected. So in some of those more complex diagrams, it gives us the ability to, highlight the wires that we want to see, remove the other ones, make it a little bit easier to deal with when we're trying to trace something, see where it connects, so on and so forth. When you're in this view, when you've modified the wiring diagram, if you wanted to print something like this as is, showing only the wires you wanted to look at, when you hit the print button, it's going to print out what you see on your screen, not the entire diagram. And then if we click the eyeball again, it'll bring us back to where we were before with all of the wires there. When we want to get back into the program, we just click the little X right next to the print button, and it'll take us right back to where we were before. Now that I want to go back into the table of contents, I'm going to click this to open the drawer again, and now we'll see all of our different categories that we can choose from. I'm going to drill down into engine mechanical, and then further into mechanical, select my ISX15 engine, and it's going to bring up a bunch of additional information for where we're looking in the program. You can see it's got identification, special tools, description, operation, etc. As we click into each one of these headings, it's going to give us the information that's relevant to that heading. So obviously special tools is going to show us all of the tool numbers that we need and what the tool description is, for the various repair operations that we could be performing on this vehicle. And you see it's a very comprehensive list. We'll scroll down a little bit further, go into component location. One of the things you'll notice right away is anytime we're dealing with a component location, connector, end view, or most things in between, when there's images in the truck product, you're going to see these great, high-resolution color photographs of what we're looking at, which, a lot of times lends itself better than trying to look at a factory drawing or someone's interpretation of a factory drawing. Another thing worth mentioning, you saw that I clicked on view full screen to bring it up. Anytime something's written in blue within the program, that means that you're able to click on it and it's going to provide additional information. I'm now going to go to removal and installation, and you can see that these are all the different components that fall under engine mechanical that have remove and install articles on them. If we take a look at the crankshaft and the removal steps, you scroll down and you see it starts to give you information on what we're doing there. Each one of these headings that has a plus sign next to it or that has a folder next to it, you can obviously click on for additional information. So we're going to bring our drawer out one more time, and I'm going to show you one more way that we can search within the program. So the keyword search allows you to go straight to what you want to look for. However, depending on how you use it, is going to determine how well it works for you. It could be your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on whether you're using it correctly or not. So when I do an alternator search, this is going to search every article within the program for the word alternator, and what you'll see when the results pop up is that it's quite a comprehensive list of results. We've got 1,084 results here. When it comes to finding the information you need, scrolling through hundreds of pages of results is absolutely the opposite of efficient. So we've added a couple other tools through our filters on the left-hand side to make that part a little bit easier on you. If we know that we're looking for alternator information and we're looking to do a remove job on it, we can scroll down to the article type, find the one that says remove, and click on that. We've now applied a filter to our search. So what we're saying is we want to search the service manual for the word alternator, and we only want article types that go over removal. And you can see right out of the gate, it went from 1,084 results down to 85 results. If I scroll down a little bit further, we can put in another filter based on the component that we're looking at. You can see all these different filters right here. So if I select the one that says alternator, now all of a sudden our total number has dropped down to 50. And you can keep removing or applying those filters as necessary to help give you more manageable results within the keyword search. So the next thing I want to show you is the trouble code repair portion of the program, possibly my favorite part of the program. So we're going to do that by going back to our module select in the upper left-hand corner and clicking on trouble code repair. You see this little blue box pops up, and I mentioned this earlier when we were doing our vehicle select. If you're looking for ABS or transmission, please make sure you've selected the appropriate ABS module or transmission while in vehicle selection. So that's one of those things. If you ever come across something where the program requires more information than you've already given it, it's going to let you know with a warning like this, or it'll re-pull up the vehicle select so you can put in the additional info. So for this, we're going to set the different parameters on our trouble code, put the FMI in, and hit submit. And then you'll see in this chart over here on the right-hand side, it's going to tell us what that trouble code is and what the title of that trouble code is. You'll notice a recurring theme in our programs with this tabbed browsing type system, like having multiple tabs open in your internet browser across the top. So we can start by looking at descriptions. It's going to give us a code description, cause, effects, circuit description, location, so on and so forth. Our wiring tab, again, as we mentioned before, we got to see all of the wiring diagrams. This is going to provide us with wiring diagrams that are relevant to what it is that we're looking at. And just like the other diagrams, when you get to the bottom, you have the ability to view them all in full screen if you need to. Our connector tab is going to give you those connector end views, and like I said, it's not a drawing, it's an actual picture, so it's good to be able to associate what you're seeing on the computer with what you're seeing in the truck itself. Same thing with locator. It's going to show you component locations. It'll have a nice, color photograph of the engine or whatever the vehicle component is that we're looking at, so you can easily find the component's location. Testing is going to give us, obviously, our step-by-step testing procedures. These pages are usually just filled with content because of all the different steps you could potentially be taking as you're going through the testing and diagnostic process. You'll notice that they have, if this, go to step 2A, if this, go to step 2B, and as you click down, you can end up getting taken pretty far down the page as you're going along through the process. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you just want to get back to the top of the page, instead of having to vigorously scroll back up, there's this little blue button in the lower right-hand corner that says back to top. And if you click on that, it'll bring you back to the top of that page. R&I is going to give our remove and install for whatever the, associated components are for the trouble code that we're looking at. We scroll down, you'll see that it gives us step-by-step removal and install instructions. You can see here, for example, in the installation, it's giving us torque specs, as we go through the article. So all of the relevant content is going to be right there in the repair article itself, but we also have a separate tab in case you just want to see what the specs are. So before we take a look at the passenger vehicle information, did anybody have any questions about the truck product?
Is there a way to identify the connector locations?
The location of the connector itself?
Like on the wiring diagram, you know how it has different connectors? Is there a way to find where the connector location is on the wiring diagram on the trucks?
Not like from this wiring diagram, for example, like if we want to know where's the ECM based on this wiring diagram. So usually that's what you would see here. So the wiring diagram showed us the engine oil pressure sensor, and we've got that right here. The diagram also showed the ECM, and if we look at this one, it shows us where the ECM is in the truck right there. Is that what you were asking?
No, I'm saying like you don't have the some vehicles have like quick connects like on the firewall and stuff like that. On your wiring diagram, would it tell you where to like if you're looking at a wiring diagram, you're trying to find a certain connector? Will it
so the wiring diagram itself is not going to tell you that or link anywhere, but it will clearly identify, the involved components, like with the ECM and the engine oil pressure sensor, and you really get a better view of that within the repair articles. Theoretically, when you're looking through this information, anything that's listed in the diagram itself, when you go over to component locations, should be there. That's something that once you're using the product, you can get with me directly. I'll make sure that Christina or Steve gets you guys my contact information. And then I'm going to show you also in a few minutes, how you get easy access to our support channels. But if you're going through the program and something like that happens where you say, okay, we've got this, I'm looking at this diagram, it's not giving me a component location for this connector or this fuse relay or whatever the case is, let us know. It could be a situation, one-off where the information is not actually there. You guys won't run into that very frequently, but when you do, we love to know about it. It's how we make our product better. And in some of the situations, it's just going to be that you're looking in the wrong place, right? And we're happy to point you in the right direction there as well.
Okay. Will it tell you like ground locations and like the power locations or anything like that?
On the diagrams themselves, or again looking at like component locations?
Like on the diagram, like let's say if there's a ground, but it won't tell you where it's on the vehicle, correct?
No, like this one, for example. Let me make this full size and blow it up a little bit so we can see it. So like right here where this one says battery ground. No, the wiring diagram is going to show you that wire goes to the battery ground, but the wiring diagram itself is not going to show you where the battery ground is. But like I said, within the repair article that's associated with this, if we're looking at this diagram, through the repair tool, the repair article should give you information on where the ground is.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me go ahead and pop over into ProDemand, which is the passenger vehicle information. So you're going to see right out of the gate that the vehicle select looks exactly the same. We've got our vehicle history. We've got our VIN or plate number. I showed you guys last time on the trucks how the VIN works. Let me just give you a peek at how the license plate decode works. Really great feature here. So with the license plate decode, you do have to make sure that you have the correct state selected in order for it to work properly. And when I click look up, Not only does it provide the VIN, sometimes it'll give a partial VIN, but it'll give you the year, make, model, and engine of the vehicle that we're looking at. In this case, it would be a 2013 Chevy Tahoe with a 5.3. The vehicle selection tool, again, is exactly the same. We go year, make, model, and engine size. And there's a bunch of other information that you have the ability to put in. Is this a standard or an extra cab? Is this four-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive? And that's one of those things, again, if you're compelled to put that information in, or if you know that you're working on a front differential, on a truck, so four-wheel drive is going to be necessary information, you can certainly put that in. If you don't put it in, if we just hit use this vehicle, if we ever get to a point in the program where the program needs more information to provide the right data for you, it'll let you know. So one of the unique things here is this landing page. I mentioned that it was significantly different in the ProDemand software than it is in the truck software. And, if anything, I guess this is like a good glimpse into the future, if you want to call it that. We've been gradually working, number one, over the course of the last couple of years, we moved the truck information to the ProDemand platform. I don't know if any of you ever had any experience with mediumtruck.net or tractortrailer.net previously, but you can tell aesthetically that there's a completely different look and feel now. And these type of search capabilities are stuff that we're working on right now, and that you could see as early as the end of Q1 or the beginning of or Q4 this year or the beginning of Q1 next year. So some great things to come. Right out of the gate, you see it says based on analysis of 169,000 some odd repairs. So that's vehicle specific. If we went back and put that plate in again, so that we could bring up the Tahoe instead of the Silverado, you'll see when we get to this screen, there's only 2,851 repairs on that 2013 Chevy Tahoe. So this is going to give you information that's relevant to whatever the vehicle is that you put in. And it's going to be the most commonly replaced components, trouble codes, symptoms, and lookups. So if we're trying to figure out what the firing order is on this Silverado, we don't have to go any further than this first page. I can just click firing order from top lookups and go right to the information that I need. So it's a pretty cool feature there. These tabs along the top are little quick access tabs. They provide you with information that we found is relevant or pertinent most of the time with most of the vehicles that you're looking up. So we gave you these easy access routes to get it. Looking at technical service bulletins, if you click on that, it's going to give you a comprehensive listing of all the TSBs on that vehicle. You'll see as we pop a little bit further into the program that we continue to provide relevant TSBs based on your search terms, but this is a complete list in case you guys need it. You also have the ability, if you have the TSB number or have a search term you want to work with, to perform a search here at the top. Fluid capacity is going to give you a chart with fluid types, standard and metric measurements, the fluid spec, and any corresponding notes. That way you've got quick access to that. Tire fitment, you'll see, you guys already know when you're dealing with trucks and SUVs, they make a ridiculous number of different models of the same truck, but they'll all be listed here, again, with the corresponding tire size, inflation recommendations, torque specs, wheelbase, bolt pattern, everything else. Reset procedures, really cool feature. I can't tell you guys how many times I've gone, paid someone to change my oil, got halfway home and realized that my oil light was still on. It's one of those things that, sometimes you know how to do it because you've performed an oil change on that vehicle before, or you have information available, but it's not always easy to find. So we thought it was important for things like the engine oil life, for things like the TPMS reminder, to include those reset procedures in a place that was easily accessible for you guys. DTC index, just like TSBs, this is going to be a comprehensive listing. You'll see as we go through that relevant ones are aligned with the information that you're looking at. And the same thing with wiring diagrams. One of the cool things you'll see here is, again, with the interactive wiring diagrams, on the passenger vehicle, so Class 1 through Class 3, crossing over a tiny bit into Class 4, you get into something like the F450s, F550s, 3545, 5500s. These wiring diagrams are in full color. The color that's represented on the diagram itself is also going to be the color that's of the wire in the vehicle. So just one more additional feature, that helps you get the job that you're doing right the first time around, right? Close back out of that. And then we've got service manual over here on the right. If you click on service manual, you're going to see the lookup that's identical to the way we're looking up information in the truck series of products, by selecting categories and subcategories and drilling down to the information that you want. I'm going to go ahead and pull back up my module selection over here and click on one search so you can see how that works. This is back to the same screen we started at. You'll see at the top it says enter codes, components, or symptoms. So you have the ability to type in P0300 here. You also have the ability in a situation I'll show you quickly. If I tell you guys we need to swap an alternator on this truck, most of you guys are adept at what you do, and you're able to do that. You might need a torque spec or a starting and charging circuit, but you got a pretty good grasp on what to do to get that alternator in and out. The times where, this really comes in handy is situations where you may not know what's wrong yet. For example, we don't know that it's the alternator. We just know that the vehicle's not starting. One of the things that sets our product away from any of our competitors is the ability to do these symptom-based lookup as well. So I put in a search for no start. I click on my no start results over here on the left-hand side, and it's going to give me information based on the symptom as opposed to, looking at the component itself. This Pro View will give us some really great information, diagnostic trouble code to component matches. These are all codes, that could pop up when there's a no-start condition, and the corresponding, components that they're associated to. We can do the same thing with symptoms. Engine doesn't start. Here's all of the different things that could cause the engine not to start. Right out of the gate, we think, oh, maybe it's a starter, maybe it's an alternator, maybe it's a dead battery or even an ignition switch. But these are all different components that have been linked to the no-start condition. So just a cool tool to utilize. For the sake of drilling further into this and really showing you, what we have, I'm going to go ahead and do the search for the alternator. You see as I start typing it in, it's going to auto-populate results underneath the same way it does when you're searching for something in Google. We're going to click on the alternator and get right into the program. You'll notice the same tab browsing system, that we saw when we were looking through the trouble code repair. Obviously, you guys all know what an alternator does, but, we put that information in there just in case you need it. You'll see with GM, they don't actually call it an alternator, they call it a generator. And even though we didn't type in generator, the program knows that that's what we're looking for because we have a built-in thesaurus. So if there are ever any of those components where one manufacturer calls it one term, another manufacturer calls it another term, you've got nothing to worry about. You type in the term you're familiar with, it'll get you to the right spot. Just like with the truck product, as we go through these tabs, we're able to see, various information categories on the vehicle, whether we're looking at locations, whether we need to know what the procedures are. Again, with the wiring diagrams, it's going to give us diagrams that are specifically relevant to what we're looking at. Maybe 1 second here. It looks like my computer hung up for a second.
When looking up parts, does it give you a generic part number maybe?
What's that?
If you're looking up certain parts, would it give you a generic part number at least?
So it won't be in the repair portion of the program, and we're by design not really touching on the estimator. I'm going to show you guys in just 1 second a couple of support resources, one of which will have short training videos. When you're using the labor component in class 1 through 3. So we're talking passenger vehicles, light duty, and again, some of the, smaller medium duty vehicles. It does have OEM part costs and OEM part numbers. But that's going to be something that's specifically in the ProDemand software, not in the Truck Series software.
Okay.
And like I said, in 1 second, I'll show you where you can find that video.
Thank you.
So let me show you one more thing while we're in ProDemand before I show you the support resources. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my modules and select maintenance. So maintenance is going to allow us to see, what the recommended maintenance information is based on mileage intervals. As you click on the different intervals, it'll show you the different maintenance tasks related to those intervals. Again, we stay current with the theme of tabbed browsing. We go over to locations. We can select the maintenance operation or maintenance task from our drop-down list. And then we can see, procedures, specs, and any reset procedures that are associated with it. It does give you a granular level of detail. Obviously all of you guys know how to lift and jack up a vehicle, right? But if you don't, or you don't know where the jack points are, you're able to click over here and say, okay, here's the vehicle lifting and jacking point so that we can, lift this up and get underneath to drain the oil, right? Especially if you guys are remote and you're doing it on the side of the road as opposed to in a shop where you've got a lift at your disposal. So it does have a highly granular level of detail with everything. It's going to give us our specs and, again, reset procedures easily accessible there as well. So I'll show you two different resources. In the top right-hand corner of both programs, this is what it looks like in ProDemand. This is what it looks like in the truck product. By clicking the Contact Us, it's going to bring you to this page that says, thank you for contacting Mitchell1. Here's our phone number. You guys will be able to ignore the first two options, 1 and 2. One is for sales and pricing. One is for account billing. That's stuff that your corporate team is handling and taking care of for you. For help locating, repair, and estimating information, you can press 3, and that'll get you to product content support. I lightly touched on that earlier. Those are the guys that if you're having trouble finding something, you can give them a call, and they'll help point you in the right direction. Again, maybe you're looking in the wrong place. They'll show you where it is. Maybe it's the one-off where the information is not in the product. We'll locate that information for you. We can fax or email it to you, and that's one of those things. Again, you help us make our product better because we know that the next time, we're pushing data to the product for an update, that's one of the things that we need to get in there. And then if your software is not working properly, obviously do your quick diagnostics on your end to make sure you've got a good internet connection and there's nothing else on your end. But option 4 will get you to our tech support department, and they can walk you through some of those things that might be preventing you from getting into the software. Second thing I wanted to show you, and this goes back to where do we find the parts info, everything else. Let me log out of this so you can see what your experience would be like to get there. Before you log into the program, this is the login screen. If you went to ProDemand, you'd have to click this to log in. Below that, there's a little button that says Get to Know ProDemand. If I click on that button, it's going to take me to this page over here, Get to Know Product Training and Support. This is an excellent resource for all of our products, but specifically the two products that you guys are going to be using, the ProDemand and the Truck Series. You can select which program you're using. Maybe it's ProDemand, maybe it's Truck Series. You click on that, it's going to take you further into more information about the product that you're looking for info on. Under self-help, if we click this, it's going to be a 6-page document that kind of goes over what we're looking at, what's contained in the product, what the recommended browsers are, how do we log in, real step-by-step to get you on your way and get you going. It's got quick information on truck labor, adding labor times, generating quotes. It's got quick information on the repair info and the trouble code repair. This is a really good resource. That's something. It's only a 6-page document. That's something if you want, you can print it out and have it handy as well. But it's always available online as long as you have a solid internet connection. The other thing is these training videos, and that's again what I mentioned earlier. Each of these videos probably like 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 3 to 6 minutes. They're not very long. They're very concise. But this one gives you a product overview on the whole truck series product. This one shows you the vehicle select and repair. How do we select a vehicle and get into the repair module? This is going to be our trouble code repair video. And then another one that goes over the labor guide. And, again, those are short videos that you guys can watch as needed or at your leisure to help give you a better understanding of what we're looking at. So now that we've gone through everything, is there any other questions that anybody had on either of the products or in general?
I said, will we be able to log on to both of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the pro side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and eventually and this is something that's on our end, and eventually it'll be the same username and password for both right now, but there are 2 different sites. One's ProDemand.com, one's truck.prodemand.com. Eventually it'll just be one website as well. Just another way that we're striving to make things easier for you guys. So there is one other bit of information I need to get for you guys, and this is, coming from your corporate team, and this is how that you're going to be able to obtain your login credentials. In order to do that, what you'll need to do is send an email to training@DickinsonFleetServices.com, and in that email, you're going to include your name and your tech number, your manager's name, and then an answer to a challenge question that they've put together for you. Today's challenge question is, who is the CEO of Dickinson Fleet Services? I'm going to give you the answer too, that way you guys don't have to do any research on that. It's going to be 2 people. Mike Dickinson and Ted Coltrane are co-executive officers. So your email to training@DickinsonFleetServices.com should read your name, your tech number, your manager's name, and below that it should say Mike Dickinson and Ted Coltrane, co-executive officers. Then you guys will be in good shape. We can validate that you've attended the training, and we can get those credentials out to you so you can start using the product. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend today. We do appreciate it. If you need anything at all, you can certainly reach out through Christina to get a hold of me. I'm sure that I'm going to be making my information, or specifically a Dickinson support email address available to you guys at some time once everybody's up and going. But definitely appreciate your time today.
Okay, thank you.